All right. Today we'll be covering some of the activities that in a pipeline, and we'll be discussing on the different available activities in detail along with the demo. So before we get into the actual, so I just wanted to reiterate on the what's been covered so far, and what's our coming sessions. What are going to do that. So as you can see, we have started with an introductory concepts and getting know about different components available within Azure Data Factory, and also the creation of free account. I hope many of you have created the free account, free subscription in Azure. Have everyone created that one? I need just a response from each and every one of you. Have you guys created the free subscription account in Azure portal?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. How about Chetan and Naresh?
I did not create it so far. I will do it.
Yeah, please do it because that is very important. Okay. And Chetan?
Uh, I only responded. Chat.
Okay. Sorry. Naresh?
Nice.
So have you created a free subscription account in Azure portal?
Sorry?
Have you created free subscription account in Azure portal?
No, sir.
Okay. So try that today. Okay. It's easy. Just it requires your email ID and some of the details it will ask you. But don't worry, it will not charge you anything on your debit or credit card. But it's very important for your learning. You create those free subscription and avail the credits, and you can practice.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So do that today, and if you have any questions, we can discuss tomorrow, or you can post to WhatsApp group. Okay.
Ah, sure.
Yeah. So that's kind of a prerequisite for our training. And also, we discussed about the storage account. What are the different types of storage accounts Azure provides, and what are the different purposes each of them we can use it in real time. And also we created a uh, storage account as well. We created a storage account in if you see my screen, right? So we created a storage account, and also we gone to the different options available within the storage account. For example, network overview, security and monitoring, and data management. How the data can be managed within the storage account with the different redundancy options like local redundancy, region redundancy, geo redundancy. So all the stuff we have gone through that. And if you have still have questions or anything, please go through those videos and come up with some questions. Okay. And then we also discussed at high level about creating a pipeline. We created a text file pipeline, and with the kind with the simple activities. And also, how do we manage those pipelines? Also, we discussed at high level. Okay. So in this session, we'll be discussing some of the activities that we can use using the copy and delete and execute. Okay. So when you go to pipeline, so in today's session, we'll be mostly covering uh, the activities in detail and how they operate and what are the different prerequisites, and getting know in detail. All right. So before it opens, we'll be discussing about copy data, delete activity, and execute pipeline. Okay, so and along with the demo, we'll be covering these three activities. So let's right. So what is copy data activity? As the name suggests, it copies the data from a one point to another point. Okay, so it's very important to move the data to different stages and different source and targets when you work with the real-time analytics workload. Right? If you work on any analytics project, it's very important you play with the data moving from here to there to some other target. So you will be keep moving the so many data sources, and you'll be connecting to as I mentioned earlier, there are 80 plus connectors are available. You can to connect ADF to different data source, and then you bring the data. And once you bring the data, you also move to in real time. It's required to move the data to different stages. For example, they will be called as staging, landing, cleansed, and the presentation. So these are the different layers that follows in your real time, and then you will be moving the data to different stages. And copy data is one of the core activity in Azure Data Factory, right? And every pipeline involves a copy data. Without copy data, there is no pipeline exist in my view. Okay, so that's where it's very important to understand how this copy happens from a different stages and different source and destinations. Okay, and as the name suggests, it copies the data from one source to another, and you can copy using more than 90 connectors that Azure provides. Okay, so what are those connectors? We will discuss in detail during the demo. But when it comes to the core definition of the copy data activity, of course, it's a copies the data, right? There is nothing rocket science here, right? But underneath, there are a lot of code being executed, and we'll discuss in that. Okay. So the next one is delete activity, right? So once you copied the data, so after that, delete will come into picture. So what the delete that is, so once you got a file in a source and you copied the data, right? So after copying, what you will do? So that file, whether to keep it as is in the source, or you want to delete that file because you already copied the data, so you no longer required for your use case. So you can delete that file, right? Similarly, you can delete the files and folders using the delete activity. Okay, so once one of the key thing to noted here is once you deleted the file, you cannot be restored. That is not like it won't work like a recycle bin. So in your Windows, if you delete a file, it goes to recycle bin, and then after a certain period, it will be permanently deleted, right? But in this case, if you delete the file from any source folder or any on-prem storage, you cannot be restored. Now the other one is execute pipeline activity. Okay, so once you created a pipeline and you want to call a pipeline within a pipeline, another pipeline you want to call, right? That's a very generic scenario you will face in your real-time projects. It's not always the single pipeline going to execute. There are going to be multiple pipeline as a master and child pipeline dependency you will create, and as a master and child, there is a bunch of pipeline going to execute at a time as part of the pipeline executes. So how do you create those dependencies? So using a execute pipeline activity. Okay, so execute pipeline is basically allows data factory pipeline to invoke another pipeline. So invoke in the sense calling another pipeline. Okay, so the calling one is called a master pipeline. So whichever is the invoking, for example, pipeline A calling pipeline B. Okay, so in this case, pipeline A will become a master pipeline, and pipeline B will become a child pipeline. Okay, so let's do some demo. So this is my Azure portal. I have already created a demo pipeline, as you can see. So as you can see, I have a copy data. Okay. So let me do it again. Okay. So let's do that. Let's create a new pipeline. And you can name it. So the default name automatically populates. So you can name it according to your project, right? So we discussed the best practices of naming conventions as well, right? So since it's a pipeline, let's create with the PL, right? So PL and demo PL copy, right? So we are copying EMP employee data. So these are the, when we are discussing activities, these are the activities available. You can move and transform. You can do a batch service. You can do a there are you can see the variable definition and execute pipeline. All the stuff we can do that. Okay, so we'll be discussing in detail. Okay, one by one. Don't worry at this point. But yeah, so if you don't know where is the copy is available, you simply type here and it will automatically comes. Okay, so copy. Okay, yeah, it copies the data. Okay, so now we need to name it, right? So we can name uh, CP employee data, right? Something like. So you can see the default timeline is about 12 hours. Okay, let's leave it as it is and um, retry zero because we are not anticipating any failure or anything. Let's keep it as is. Okay, and let's move to source and sync. Okay, now to copy the data, it's two things are required. What is the source I am going to pick up the data, and what are the destination I am going to copy the data. Okay, so now so in our earlier sessions we already created some of the data sets. Okay, so you need to select a data set that copies the data, picks the data from the source. You need to select a data set. Okay, so if you want to know what is data set and what is linked service, all the stuff we have discussed, please visit the previous videos and go through that, and you will get to know what is linked service, what is data set. Okay, so it's very important to understand, and they are the building blocks. All right. So I will use the delimited text one simple one which basically copies. Okay, so okay, let me quickly tell you the scenario. All right, so we have containers. Okay, so as you can see in my demo uh, IT training, I have a container and I have two files over there. So in my as part of this copy demo, we'll be copying employee sample CSV to another folder. Okay, so I'm moving to output. As you can see in the output, it's already there. Let me delete this. Okay, so now as part of this copy activity, I will be moving the file from demo training to output folder. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. So now let's quickly jump into. So okay, my pipeline is available. So for this, I need to create a source, right? So the source, uh, what do you call a source data set? We need a source data set. Okay, so let's create a new one. Okay, don't use the existing one. Let's create a new one. So how do you create a new one? So you can see you have a plus symbol. Is what you can create a new one, and you can create use. If you already have one, you can preview the data here. So let's see what is in preview data. See, the two records are available. So since I haven't named I haven't created any columns, so it's giving automatically. It's taking property 0, property 1, and prop 2, as you can see it here, right? And I have two employees, 1001 and 1002, and their respective names and their salaries. Okay, and you can see the similar thing over here. And if you see, so see, I have two records, right? I don't have any header or anything. So that's where the pipeline automatically assigns the column values to these respective columns. Okay, but in normal cases, in a real time scenario, you might or may not have the column headers. For example, let's say if I want to give, if I want to give, this is an ID, okay, and name, and this is a salary. All right, so something like, okay, so now let's save that. All right, now go here, and now preview the data, how it looks like. You can see, okay, still taking the old ones, and you can see ID, name, and salary are come up. Okay, but why still the property 0 is coming? Because I haven't selected the header. Okay, so we'll do that in our sync. Okay, so as you can see here, the column headers also coming now. Okay, so now let's copy these two copy this to output. Okay, so now source data set we have selected, and source everything got selected. Now you can see sync, right? Sync is what it called sync, in the sense the target data set that you want to copy the data. Okay, again you need to select a data set. Okay, so which is my target data set is basically, uh, let's see if I can reuse this one. Or it's a best, if you don't know, it's best create a new one. Okay, so now which one is our, so I was mentioning about the 90 plus connectors, right? As you can see, there are multiple connectors automatically available. For example, if you want to connect IBM Infomix, you can use this connector. You want to connect file system, you want to connect Microsoft Access, if you want to connect a MongoDB, or if you want to connect a Oracle, you can see, or if you want to connect a Salesforce, this is the Snowflake, the recent Snowflake. So all these pre-built connectors are already available in Microsoft. You can easily use it. Okay. So now let's create a new one, blob storage, right? So since our CJ CSV, let's do a CSV and then continue. All right, create a data set. Starts with DS, right? DS employee to output. All right. So we need to select link service as well, right? And if you want to know how to create a link service and data set in detail, go to the previous videos, so you will easily able to get it. Okay. So now the output folder we want to put, select the output. Okay. So we want to put it in output. So automatically it picks up from that, and that's it. You can create it. Okay. So now let's go through the options. Copy behavior. So you can see the flatten hierarchy, merge files, all these options are available. Okay. And in for example, let me see that. So it's very important to you understand this. So since it's a plain CSV copy from one place to another place, we will be not using anything. But in real time, when you say if the files, if let's say you are copying multiple files at a time. Okay. So there is a dependency between those files. So in that case, you can either merge, right? Let's say you have a 1 to 100 employees in one file and 101 to 200 employees in another file. So how do you do that? Instead of doing one by one, you can merge those files and copy, right? Or you want to flatten the hierarchy or preserve hierarchy also available. Okay. So these are the different options that we can use while copying the data from one source to another source. Okay. So in our this case, this example, none of these available works. So just keep it as the default one. Okay. So now maximum concurrent connections, right? So you want when the actual copy happens when you're saying billions of trillions of GBs of data, so you want to copy in concurrently, right? Nobody accepts copying one by one record, right? So in that cases, you can set up a concurrent connections where the files can be copied in parallel, right? And now you can also set what is the block size you can give, right? So you can see the different. You can starts with the 4, and you can do set the block size that you want to control. Okay. Right? So it's a file extension we know already, and maximum rows per file. Again, if you want to set how many rows you want to read at a time, you can set as well. Okay. So these are the options. Now we set the since none of these is applicable for our demo, let's leave it as is and move on. So we already source and target has been done. Okay. So let's validate. So it's always best practice. Once you are done, validate the pipeline, make sure all the required uh, all the required data is already available. So when I validate, you see there is a validation is failed, saying that CP employee data file path of dataset DSTV is a folder. Okay, the wildcard file name is required for. Now go to that C DS delimited. Okay. So we if you see the file called, we have given the file path as a data set, right? So within the file path, there could be multiple files available, right? There could be multiple files. You might have hundreds of files available. So which file you want to copy the data, you need to specify it, right? So what we can do is we can give either wildcard, either you can give prefix if you know the file name already. Okay, so since ours is a simple CSV file, right? So we want to copy info sample employee sample CSV file. Okay, so then what we can do is simple, like we can give star. If you give star, both the files will copy. Or if you want to copy only CSV file, you can just mention star.csv. Okay, so that's about the wildcard path. Okay, all if you want to give a list of files, you have a name, select one by one those files you want to copy also, you can mention over here. Okay, so let's try with the CSV. And also if these options are not available, you can also mention and give the dynamic content. So what is the dynamic content? We'll be discussing in our future class. So dynamic content is basically parameterizing, right? So in real time, you might not know whether it's a CSV or text or the file names you might not know, right? So those things you can using a dynamic content, you can um, parameterize as well. Okay, so don't worry, the parameterization we'll discuss in our further classes. Okay, so for now let's copy uh, CSV to um, destination. Okay, so now let's validate it. You see, the pipeline has been validated, no errors, right? That means the pipeline is ready to execute. Okay, and you want to debug, let's debug as well. Let's run the debug. You see, so whenever you run a debug, first the status goes to queue, and it gets the necessary resources to execute the pipeline, and then executes. You see, so now it's successful. Now let's go back and see. Okay. So in the meantime, it also gives you Azure Data Factory also gives you, see what was my input, right? I can see it over here. See, I want to copy the star.csv files, okay, from the storage, right? And this is what my sync to another storage. So you can see the JSON code, how this code going to execute in the backend. And similarly, you can see the output as well, right? What are the data? What is the how many files it had read, and how many files it had read, right? And what are the connections, copy duration, all the output you can read it over here. And the same thing, the same JSON file you can also view as a UI, right? It easily tells you, see, uh, the pipeline is copying from one Azure blob storage to another Azure blob storage, right? So what is the data packet size? 46 bytes. It's just two records, and the return also 46. How much time it took? Just 7 milliseconds. Okay, and you can see what and all the different happens. So when you submit the job, it went to queue, and it was there in queue for 4 milliseconds. After that 4 millisecond, it acquired the required resources to execute the pipeline, and then the transfer process, it just one milliseconds, right? So you can see all the details of each of activity in real time, and how it's done and what it is done. And you can also see number of records also copied, right? For example, if you see number of files read one and number of files written also one. Okay, so all the stuff you can find it over here. So, and this is very useful information when something has failed, and when if there are any issues with the connectivity, or if there are any issues with the storage or not able to copy, it's very useful, this kind of information. Okay, so now let's see the employee being the data being copied from here to here. Okay, so now what I will do is, let me do that. So now once it's copied, okay, which is good, well and good. Okay, so after copying, what should I do? All right. Now after copying, I want to delete the file. Okay, so you can see. Okay, this is how you can add more activity. You can see add activity. Right, when you click on add activity, you will give bunch of options that we have seen under activities tab. So you can just select. I just select delete, and I just drag and drop it. Okay, so now once I delete that file. Okay, I want to delete that file. Okay, so let's see. You can give the description. Okay, and the rest of information, leave it as it is. We are no longer required. Now we need to again select the data source. Which data source you want to delete, right? We will select the same data source. So from source, we wanted to delete. So once the file copies from source to target, I want to delete the file from the source, right? That's the objective. So now in the source, we have selected DS delimited text. Let's select the same over here. Okay. So now here also, which file you want to delete? Same star dot CSV. Okay. So now, so you can also enable logging. So what logging does is basically it gives you all the what are the activities happened. It's kind of a log file, right? So if you are writing any programming language, also you generate a log file to identify the different steps being executed by the programming, so that it will be helpful for you to debug in case of if it's a success or failure, right? So you can mention logging as well. So you can create, you can give the logging link service and the file path, and it will automatically create the log file over there. For example, if I see, I can create a log file under here only. I can, right? So here I have given the folder path. So let's see, after that it will automatically um, logs the activities that been executed. Okay, so now let's validate. Validate is successful. Now I get debug.
We want to delete that again after copying.
Yeah. So we have a source file, right? So that source file we from here to see this employees CSV we are copying from the here to output, and then after the copying we want to delete the source file.
It is like requirement.
Yeah, it's like a requirement. Yeah. So for example, if you see, let's say you're getting employee data daily, right? So or you are getting employee data monthly, right? So this day, today's data I have processed, so I have deleted the file. I don't want to move. And then tomorrow when the file comes, so it will be another file. It will be there. Otherwise, the number of files keep it will keep number of files will be piling up, and you will have so many files. You need to clean it up, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is the situation.
Okay. In sync, we are giving data set, right? Is that CSV file empty or it is with data again? It should be empty, right? So that it will copy the data from source data set.
So that's right. That's right. You're right. So now you have there will be two files. You see the file being deleted, and also we have given a logging, right? So the
Yeah.
log file has been created. Now let's
Mm.
go output. You see it's copied again. You just see it just overwritten the existing file. You see 89 now, 87 it just 8759, right? So around 88 it executed and it overwritten the file.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Basically, uploading it is an empty file. We are just writing the data from source data set to here.
right.
Again, when we delete, it will override with the new data.
Absolutely right.
Tomorrow, the again new file will come. Again, that will override completely new data in the data set of sync.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Okay. So now let's see what this log file has. You see employee CSV file deleted.
Yeah.
Right. So now this is very useful when you have a, let's say you are copying 100 files, right? We don't know how many copied and how many got success and how many got error, right? So it's very logging is very useful to debug and trace if some issue had come. Now, by default, we'll be designing to fail, right? So our design has to be such a way that it should be assuming that something will fail. We will not be, always happy path. Okay, I want to copy 100 files. I would expect 100 files to be copied successfully. No, that's not the good design. You would expect and assume that out of 100 there will be some issues, and you need to able to track that issues, and the pipeline is such a way that it can pick up those errors and then move forward. Okay, so our design has to be in such a way that even any error or anything happened, we will be able to know that, right? If you are not logging in, if you, let's assume that that's then optional, it's not a mandatory. Let's say you have not created any logging. Now what will happen? You don't know which file got transferred, which file got missed out. That's right. And then other people who is consumers, they will be complaining that certain files they did not receive. Now you don't know which file copied, and there's a manual intervention is required, and comparing one by one out of hundreds and thousands of files. It's very tedious task, right? So it's very important to have all these in mind before designing a pipeline. Okay, and that only comes when you know that okay, there is a logging mechanism can be utilized to track the to trace back in case of any missing files.
So this logging can be enabled even if we give sync like Gen2 or a database. In that case, also we can enable this login, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's available. There is no issue with that.
Okay.
All right. So that's about copying and the demo of copying and delete. Now quickly go through. Let's publish one. Okay, I want to publish this.
So the difference between that save and publishing.
Yeah. So save is temporary. Okay, so you're just saving this pipeline temporary into your the moment you log out, it will go away. Okay, but publishing is you're temporarily publishing your changes to the data factory.
Okay. If
Okay,
we save or tomorrow if we can come the save
yeah. So
changes
it's
there,
available.
right?
Yeah, it's available only for you, right?
Okay.
Imagine you're working with a team of people, right? You're working with me, you're working with Chetan, you're working with Venkat, everybody, right? We are all working as a team, and we are all working on the same pipeline. All right.
Yeah.
So you'll be doing this one, and I'll be doing this one, and some young Venkat will be doing something. So all these dependencies we have, right? So in that case, when you save the changes that you have saved, it's only visible to you. Venkat or me can't able to see those changes. But when you publish, Venkat and everybody within the team who has access to this data factory, they can also see those changes.
Basically, it will save in that branch, no? Branch.
Yeah, branch. Normally, yeah, you will have, you see here there is a option called code repository, right?
Mm.
So code repositories was GitHub and GitHub or Bitbucket, anything that the organization is using, you will be setting up that repository here. So the changes automatically reflecting in the repository.
In that particular branch, if you want to merge with master, then we sure we have to publish it.
Correct, correct. Yeah. So that's the Git process that is common across. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
now I published that, and you can see the notification here, publishing completes. Okay. And okay, so let's go back. Okay, so you can see pipeline employee copy being published, right? It's available. Now let's assume that I want to create another pipeline and I want to copy, I want to run employee out of the another new pipeline. Okay, I will give this as a master pipeline. Okay. Now, right. So this is the execute pipeline. So when you type execute, it automatically tells you where is the execute pipeline, and you can just drag and drop. Okay. Now you can give name execute EMP pipeline. Okay. Now it's very important to give mention the which is the pipeline you want to execute. Okay, so you can only see that the pipelines that are already published over here. If you saved in temporary in your local, or those pipelines will not be come over here. Okay, so now let's see the one which I want to. Okay, so now wait on completion. Okay, so um, so so any activity I provide after this execute pipeline, so that activity to be waited until this pipeline completes. Okay, so that you can set as an option. It's an optional, either you check or uncheck. Okay, if you check, it will wait before starting the next activity. Okay, if you don't want to be waited and you just continue with the next activities, you can just uncheck. Okay, and couple of user properties that we will discuss in next session. So you can set the user properties with patterning to this pipeline as well. Okay, so now let's see. Now let's execute again. Okay, so I wanted to. So this one. Okay, so there is no. One thing. Okay, so this time I will use info.jpg. Okay, so info.jpg, I want to copy it from uh, demo training to output, and after copying, after successful of copying, the info.jpg will be removed out of demo training. Okay, but to do that, I need to again change the data set, right? Because currently the pipeline is pointing to employee salary, not the demo, right? So let's upload a new employee file. That will be easy. I think I have it already somewhere. Hmm. Okay, no worries. We'll quickly create a new file. Okay. Oh, it's already there. Okay. So hope you guys are following the steps what I'm doing, trying to do. And if you have any questions, we'll discuss after this exercise. Okay. Okay. So we have employee back again, and you can see the output file. Okay. So you want to delete this one? I will delete this one. Okay. Okay, so we don't have anything in the output. So now if you run the pipeline, it will copies the file over to here, and also it will create the log. Okay, so that's through executing another pipeline. So I have created a master pipeline to execute the employee pipeline within that, and I will just validate it. So validation looks good, and just debug it. All right, it's success. So you can see the employee sample been copied and the log file also got generated. Okay, so this is how you can the importance of copy and delete and execute pipeline. Okay, so let me publish this one so that we can use these pipelines for tomorrow as well. All right, so what I would suggest you is if you already you have created the uh, Microsoft free subscription, play with these pipelines. Okay, you could also create. So how to create a simple data set and create a simple link service and copy the data from place to some within the storage account. For now, just you can try with the storage account itself. And as we move forward, we'll be also discussing creating how to copy this data from a CSV file to a SQL database. Right, so that is the real scenario, because see the copying from uh, within storage account A to storage account B, it's a kind of normal scenario, but in real time in your projects you'll be getting employee data and all, so you'll be persisting the data in the SQL server, any SQL databases, right? That's where the Power BI or any other reporting tool can connect and run their report analysis, right? So in our next classes we'll be discussing how this same data can be copied to a SQL database. So what is the SQL database, how to create a SQL database, so all the stuff will be covering in our next class. Okay, so now okay, so now let's jump into any questions before you wind up.
Sir, in Sync, we have added headers manual.
Which one? Sorry.
No, while we copying the data from source to Sync, headers not there. We added ID name and all manually, right?
Correct. So
Yeah.
see the header will come when you uh, moving to a database, right? So right now we are doing just a CSV to CSV, so the headers will appear as is. But when you map those source column to different target columns, right? Let's assume that I'm receiving my employee name is EMPNO, but in my source I wanted as EMP underscore NO target,
Okay.
right? So those kind of situations will be mapping back to the target columns, or your table. Let's assume that you already have an employee table, you don't want to whether the source is sending whatever column name, you just want to ignore the header information, right? In such
Okay.
scenario we will be covering those scenarios to ignore the headers, so that the content whatever is number, name, salary is coming, we will directly move to the target table.
Actually, if we have fused records, how can we add headers? Now, in this case, we added manual. If we have fused columns,
Yes,
how can we add headers?
so normally these files will be generated by the systems, not generated by the any humans, right? Let's say your organization is running a payroll system, right? So they what they will do is they just export the employee data out of payroll system, so it will be generated over a CSV, and that CSV file automatically includes the headers, all the information, and it will pass on to you to take it up further processing.
Okay.
Yeah.
If no header is there, actually, I guess in ADF we have an option to add header. I don't know how to use it.
Hmm.
For data sets, we can enable that header. I don't know where the option is.
Correct. So see, when you're moving the data from source to sink, right? See, when that's what I'm trying to say. When you're moving from blob to blob, it won't give you that option. Otherwise, when you're moving to a blob to a SQL database or any other database, it will ask you whether to headers need to be considered or do you have a header? Because see, the first record is always a header, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, there is a checkbox to ignore the header. So that means the header will be ignored and the rest of the data will be copied. Otherwise, those letters also will be moved to your database. Okay, we'll discuss that in the next class.
Yeah, we can see that options also, no, that header one.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions, Chetan, Naresh, Venkatesh?
Nothing, sir.
So how is I mean, am I moving too fast or am I moving too slow or you're able to catch it up? What is your understanding? No response. That means you already you everything you got understood. Come on, guys, be feel free to, right? There's nothing. No question is right question or wrong question. Feel free to. That's how you learn, right? And even when I started, I also had the same situation. But as you speak, we speak and we learn from others as well. Okay. All right then. Yeah, go ahead, Venkat. You're saying something. All right. So that's for today, and we'll resume tomorrow with a more SQL database and with more activities and what are the purpose and how that can be used in real time. We'll be discussing that tomorrow.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. All right.